From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Higher prices at the grocery store, but what does that mean back at the farm?
When you consider what it costs to raise them to that point, it just doesn't pencil out.
We get a reality check from one Georgia producer. Happening right now, the drought is fueling a familiar problem in the West. An update on the latest efforts to fight back against grasshoppers and Mormon crickets. As some surprises greet wheat producers in the South.
I'm not sure how this one pulled through as well as it did, but the few rains that we had were just timely enough.
We check in on harvest right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths with the corn crop in the ground and soybean planting wrapping up. Attention now turns to crop conditions. And there's growing concern in the heartland about the possibility of flash drought conditions as a string of days with warm, dry weather start to take a toll. And condition ratings for corn have worsened a bit. 67% of the crop is now rated good to excellent. That's down 3% from last week. Soybean planting now complete with 98% of the crop in the ground. That's 1% ahead of the 5-year average, and the condition has dropped some here as well, with 65% of the crop now rated good to excellent. That's also down 3% from last week. Winter wheat harvest, it sits at 41%, 6% ahead of the 5-year average. And winter wheat harvest is continuing to press on in the plains, while in the northern plains, the warmer, drier weather is helping the crop mature faster. And the need for wheat is growing. Grow Intelligence says their data shows the world has just 10 weeks worth of global wheat consumption in storage. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan heads to the fields to get a first-hand look at harvest.
The start of summer also ushers in the steady rhythm of wheat harvest across the plains. Here in the Texas Panhandle, farmers saw only a half of an inch of rain during the heart of the growing season. And as a result, yields are poor in the fields that did survive.
Considering the lack of rainfall we received since way back in the fall, I wasn't surprised with dryland yields of wheat. I was surprised with some of the wheat I tried to irrigate. I thought I'd have a little bit better yields, but that wasn't the case either. I was ending up with 25 to 30 bushels an acre on irrigated wheat, which isn't great.
Just to the north, Oklahoma's wheat harvest has been in full swing for about 2 weeks. Clint Wilcox farms in the northwest portion of Oklahoma. He says yields have been a bit surprising.
This is not anywhere near the worst wheat crop that I've seen. I think 2011 and 2018 were much worse here.
The wheat crop is still 40% below the strong harvest farmers saw in this part of Oklahoma last year, but it's not as bad as it could be.
I'm not sure how this one pulled through as well as it did, but the few rains that we had were just timely enough.
Across the state, farmers are hustling to get the crop out after some of Oklahoma saw 11 inches of rain in May.
Right now we're in central Oklahoma. We're fighting humidity, so we're not starting until midday. Harvest reports are marginal, and I'm getting some good protein numbers, but yields, people are more excited about reporting proteins than they are yields this year.
Arnold says Oklahoma's wheat yields are mixed, but the research farms where he's harvesting are producing yields 50 to 60% below average.
So where I want, 70, 80 bushel, 90 bushel, I'm cutting 40 to 50 bushel.
While the battle is never ending, Wilcox is thankful to have a crop to harvest this year.
My bushels per hour aren't a whole lot different than they were a year ago. I'm just driving 2.5 times as fast.
And even with wheat prices double what farmers saw last year, the farm financial picture isn't all upbeat.
We're just glad to be cutting further west than for me in Altus and those areas and Hollis. I have nothing to complain about. It really hurts to not have a crop whenever you have a good price. And so we just hope for a better year for everybody next year.
Reporting for AgDay, I'm Tyne Morgan.
It looks like the warm, dry pattern is sticking around this week for much of the country. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik shows us why that is.
Yeah, Clinton, that pattern sticking around. It has really been hot and humid in the south and east, and really just hot and dry in most of the southwest for the past week or two. And if you look at this jet stream, not much is going to change. That actual jet stream is well to the north, and it's keeping that heat and the humidity here across the lower 48. And we're going to be watching another ridge likely build through the middle of the country as we head into next week. And that's going to keep these temperatures here that you're seeing on this map in the 80s, 90s, and potentially feeling closer to the triple digits for most of the midsection of the country, and then off towards the East Coast, even the Southwest, parts of California and Arizona really starting to feel that heat, and it is going to persist as we head through at least the next 2 weeks. But here's a look at the next 10 days of precipitation. This is through Saturday, and you can see not a whole lot is going on except for in the southeast and some showers and storms in the Four Corners. But more rainfall starts to move in with more unsettled weather as we head through the second half of that 10-day period there. So something to look forward to, but we'll obviously keep you updated on that. And we just love this picture taken in Nebraska. Camille sharing this one, adding, quote, "Dad, those steers eat how much? Those big blue eyes say so much." I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Drought and dry weather helping create a fresh frustration for western farmers, a region now battling a severe outbreak of grasshoppers and Mormon crickets. Now in Oregon, a new suppression program is being rolled out as part of a larger effort by state and federal authorities in the West to deal with an exploding population. Now, some environmental groups oppose the programs that require aerial spraying across a wide area. Rulings continue to pour out of the U.S. Supreme Court as it releases its latest round of decisions. That includes whether to hear a case regarding the beef checkoff. AgDay national reporter Michelle Rook joins us with the latest.
Clinton, on Monday, the Supreme Court ruled to deny RCAF's request to have their lawsuit against the National Beef Checkoff considered by the court. This effectively puts an end to this case, which has been going on for nearly 6 years. The premise of the case was that USDA does not have enough oversight on the National Beef Checkoff, but the High Court ruled there was not enough evidence to prove that claim and that the agency is using the checkoff the way it was intended in the National Act and Order. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association defended the checkoff in court, and CEO Colin Woodall says the ruling was vindication and a real win for the nation's cattle producers.
This ruling was not a surprise because we knew the whole lawsuit process has been nothing but a politically motivated effort by RCAF to once again just try to disparage the checkoff and disparage NCBA. So we've always known that the oversight has been in place. We know that the oversight is robust. We know that these dollars are being used the way they were intended to be used.
Woodall added that RCAF aligned itself with animal activist group Public Justice to gain support for their legal battle, which is tied in with groups like PETA. This is not the end of the story, as RCAF has another lawsuit against the beef checkoff that is working its way through the courts. This one claims USDA has violated the Administrative Procedures Act.
Hey, take a look at this. Guardian Agriculture just partnered with Wilbur Ellis to roll out what it calls the first fully autonomous crop protection aircraft system. The company says its electronic drone can carry hundreds of pounds with its 4 6-foot propellers stretched across the 15-foot wide machine. It's capable of spraying 40 acres per hour. Now, Guardian says the regulatory approval process is underway. It expects these drones to be available for growers starting in 2023. Corn markets continue to tumble. We'll take a look at Monday's trade coming up next. And later, the reality of what higher prices at the grocery store really mean for cattle producers in the country.
Ag Day is brought to you by the End Zone by Farm Shop MFG, which allows you to rehydrate your soybeans from 10 to 13%. On a 20,000 bushel bin, that's an extra semi-load added to your bottom line. Order your End Zone fan control by July 31st and receive $200 off.
Markets appear to be starting the week right where they left off, with downside pressure. And soybeans, well, they were the exception. AgDay's Michelle Rook has more on where we're starting things out this Tuesday morning.
Joining us with market analysis, Sean Hackett with Hackett Financial Advisors. Grains mixed on Monday as we had feed grains down, soybeans were up, but corn seemed to get hammered here in that new crop contract by some pretty good rain over the weekend.
Surprisingly good rain. It wasn't supposed to be that strong, and when you're getting closer to July, closer to pollination, you get that rainfall. It means you actually can absorb some heat and keep the crop going. So this is just the wrong time of the year to have unexpected rainfall to keep the market supported. And this is not unusual for corn to do this if you get this kind of weather pattern.
So how much technical damage have we done in the December corn?
Well, 660 is really the big support. We broke it last week. We had a reversal, which kept it intact. We broke it today, but I still feel the weekly close below 660 would be damage. I don't think a daily close below 660 can be taken seriously right now.
So did wheat just follow corn, Sean, or was that harvest pressure continuing?
For winter wheat, I think it's unquestionably harvest pressure, and the idea that this Russian wheat crop is going to be harvesting soon, and it looks like a record crop. Of course, spring wheat, I think it's all about weather, following corn down, so I think you have to delineate between winter wheat and spring wheat at this point.
And then we did see a bounce in soybeans, and after $1 drop in new crop last week, or over $1, did we just find some support on the charts, or what?
I think we did. It's still very early to say weather's good for soybeans yet until we get further on in July. We still have very, very good demand. And so I just think that soybeans are going to beat to a little bit of a different drum right now than the wheat market and the corn market, at least at this time of the year.
And it could get volatile as we move through the week and a month end of the quarter and the big reports on Thursday.
Yeah, and a long weekend. I mean, usually, Michelle, sell the rumor, buy the news is what happens over and over again. And so these markets have really been hit. Corn, I have a sneaky suspicion, whatever they say on Thursday, we might just get a technical bounce into the long weekend, and then the market will take a look at weather maps on Monday night and try to make the next decision from there.
Okay, well, we'll wait till then to see what the numbers really show. Thanks so much, Sean Hackett with Hackett Financial Advisors. You can see our full discussion on agweb.com. More Ag Day coming up.
Ag Day is brought to you by MetLife Investment Management's Agricultural Finance Group. MetLife Investment Management is positioned to help you grow your business with a competitive farm, ranch, and agribusiness loan. To learn more, visit investments.metlife.com/agriculture.
Meteorologist Matt Yarosavik joining us. Taking a look at our national forecast. And Matt, we're starting with the drought monitor here, where we've been kind of watching the Midwest to see what's going to develop.
Yeah, a lot of people worried about drought developing there, and unfortunately it looks like we're going to see much of that as we head over not only the next week, but probably through the next couple of months. And you can see how the drought has expanded just in the last couple of weeks, especially right through parts of the Mississippi River Valley here. We've seen a lot of drought in parts of Louisiana and eastern Texas, but coming up through Mississippi, Tennessee, and then up into parts of the Ohio Valley, Illinois, Indiana, and up into the Midwest. That's somewhere where we're going to keep an eye on with less moisture over the next couple of weeks. Could bring these more drought conditions there in the east, and we could see moderate to even severe drought pop up over the next month or so. So something we'll keep an eye on there, but that is the area that we've highlighted all the way down through parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and then right up through the Midwest, parts of the Ohio Valley, and Middle Tennessee, and down into the Mid-South as well. So a lot of that area there is where we're kind of concerned about with things drying out. Some rain, though, over the next week, not this week, but as we head into next week, could help parts of this area kind of prolong the damp soil that we still have in some parts of the states down in this area right here. But notice most of the moisture as we head through this week is going to be south and east of Nashville, Memphis, and it's going to keep it down toward Atlanta, New Orleans, Jacksonville. A lot of rain with kind of a stalled out front there. Some tropical moisture coming into Texas. Scattered showers and storms like we saw last week there in the Four Corners region, and then a few more showers north of most of where we need some of that rain, right through the Corn Belt. But we'll continue to see more chances for rain as we head through the weekend and into next week. Temperatures are going to remain pretty cool up across the north, but staying warm and humid across the south. And temperatures back again in the 80s and 90s over most of the lower 48 as we're heading through tomorrow afternoon. And you can see not a whole lot's going on. Here's that kind of stalled out front here, high pressure moving in behind it, little front moving through the Great Lakes, and then that tropical moisture moving into Texas. But other than that, the lower 48 mostly clear, just seeing the pop-up showers and storms back in the west. And this jet stream's not going to change too much over the next couple of weeks. It's going to keep it up to the north, bringing in the warmth, bringing in the dry weather, and that's something we'll continue to track right here on Ag Day. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Hayward, Wisconsin, a chance for thunderstorms, a high near 76 degrees. Lake Charles, Louisiana, scattered showers and thunderstorms, a high near 89. And taking a trip back to New Mexico and Hatch, scattered thunderstorms, a high near 84.
It's time to sign up for the 2022 United Pork Americas Conference in Orlando, Florida. Register today at unitedporkamericas.com and join us September 7th through the 9th.
The cattle market is continuing to tighten up. That's showing up in the new cattle on feed numbers from USDA. It reports 11.8 million head as of June 1st. That's 1% above last year, and it's the highest June 1st inventory since 1996. But feedlot placements at 1.87 million head is actually 2% below last year, and among those placements, more lightweight cattle than normal.
It implies that conditions are still sufficiently poor in much of the country that you are being forced to put cattle into feedlots, probably a little bit earlier than expected. The fact that you don't have a whole lot of heavier weight cattle to be placed could be implying that we are looking at these tighter supplies of cattle.
Marketings of cattle during May totaled 1.91 million head. That's 2% above last year. Another 4th of July cookout survey is out, and it's also saying you'll be paying more this year. An American Farm Bureau Federation Market Basket survey says you'll pay just under $70 total for your favorite foods for 10 people. That includes cheeseburgers, pork chops, chicken breasts, homemade potato salad, strawberries, and ice cream. It breaks down to less than $7 per person, but it's up a total of 17% or about $10 from last year. The increase is being blamed on supply chain disruptions, inflation, and the war in Ukraine. So with those higher prices people are paying at the grocery store, you'd expect cattle producers to be making more money, right? And that's not the case, says this rancher in Georgia. The realities next in the country. As you get ready for that 4th of July barbecue, you're no doubt seeing higher prices for beef at the grocery store, but how much of that is trickling down to cattle producers? Damon Jones with the Georgia Farm Monitor has this perspective from one farmer.
There's a common misconception around the country that since the price of beef has risen nearly 30% at the grocery store over the past couple of years, that cattlemen are making record high profits. However, that couldn't be further from the truth, as several external factors have really cut into their bottom line.
I would say the profits overall are probably less than what it was before. Yes, the cattle market prices are up somewhat, but when you consider what it costs to raise them to that point, it just doesn't pencil out. Our input costs, feed, fertilizer, fuel, that kind of thing, are extremely high. That's really hammering a lot of people in a lot of ways.
Drought conditions around the country have been another obstacle for them to overcome, as hot, dry conditions have not only resulted in higher prices for hay and feed, but also a shortage.
Well, it just causes you to have to feed hay or feed or whatever, and I mean, obviously the cost of those have gone up so much, if you can find hay. This time of the year is hard to even locate supplies now, because I mean, as fast as anybody's baling hay, they're selling it.
And with no real end in sight to the rising prices, setting a budget is near impossible with all the uncertainty.
I'm not sure how you're going to make a budget now and stick to it. That's the biggest problem, because the price of a lot of things is still going up. Fuel's still going up. Fertilizer may have hit a peak a little bit for the time being anyway, but you don't know what it's going to do down the road. And this fall it may go up again. And so the cost of seed, I mean, all that's a factor, and it's just hard to budget when you don't know what the prices will be.
Those record prices have also trickled down to the feeder market, where those operations are forced to pinch pennies as well.
Even when these calves go to a feedlot, the cost of gain is costing them so much. I mean, you know, they're not going to pay any more than they have to, because their profit margin is very slim. So it's kind of a killer on both ends.
That's why organizations like the Georgia Cattlemen's Association are so important at a time like this, as they help pass through legislation that will benefit the industry now and into the future. Reporting from Pike County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Our thanks to Damon Jones and the Georgia Farm Monitor for that story. And that's all of our time this morning. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out in the farmhouse.